Another season where the Auburn offense holds the team back. Let's talk about it on this live edition of the Uptempo podcast. Yes, sir. Auburn family, up-tempo gang, man. Hope everybody is having a good week. Dustin Smith, Blake Lane, back with the latest edition of the Up-Tempo podcast. Guys, we do apologize for not doing a show Sunday. I see some of y'all talking about it in the comments. We both had some things to take care of. We're back. We're better than ever. Blake, I feel like we're talking about something that we've been talking about as Auburn fans for about 10 years. Remember the 2016 Georgia game? I feel like I'm still living in that game. I feel like I'm still living in that game where I'm like, man, if we could just find the end zone more than one time, we'd come out this thing with a dub, man. But as we've talked about before, dude, new faces, new players, new coaches, new schemes, they come in, and it's the same issue. It's another season where Auburn is wasting a good defense, and I think a defense that is becoming really good as the season goes on. We're seeing your puppies grow up and become dogs right in front of our eyes, man. So that part of it's been fun. But Blake, just another abysmal offensive performance, something that we've been feeling like I said for like a decade. We've been doing this here together, or as Auburn fans, we've been watching this forever. I know you got a lot to say about something that happened in particular, man. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of give you the floor, my guy.
Well, look, y'all, I apologize. My connection is like really spotty right now. It's flooding in Mobile, Alabama. So I'm going to hop on my phone real quick, Dustin, and then I'll get right back to you, man.
I got you. All right. Well, while Blake gets right back to us, I'm going to go ahead and get to some of the comments, talk to some of you people. Anthony says, love that hat. Need it. I got this at Alumni Hall, buddy. Rodney, remind everybody, hit that like button. Breaking news, Justin says, 7 points. Brother, I'm telling you, it couldn't be more frustrating, you know. Daniel says Up Tempo was so pissed they didn't want to do a show Sunday. Look, was pissed off. Definitely was pissed off. Definitely frustrated. I actually was on the post game after the game on the War Report channel. You can go kind of catch my thoughts if you are interested in that. But yeah, if you're, or you could just look at the Arkansas post game, the Cal post game, the Missouri post game. It's kind of all the same thing, huh? Connie's here. She says War Eagle. Daniel says, we are close. We just need a QB. Daniel, I got a little bit I want to say on that tonight. So I'm going to keep in mind that we'll keep your comment in mind here because I don't necessarily agree, my guy. Matthew Ray says, we have better players this year, but worse results. That is absolutely the case. Tim the Toolman Taylor saying, War Damn Eagle fam. Higher Free says, War Damn Eagle, only 13 months till freedom. It's not going well, buddy. It's not off to a good start. Matthew says, War Damn Eagle, that coaching last game was horrible. Peyton Thorne couldn't make a throw down the field. 27 got 12 touches. BS game. Freeze doesn't hate to lose. So let's go ahead and start right there. I know that Blake has a lot to say about this. He will be joining us momentarily. Yeah, Jarquez, in the post game, Hugh Freeze was asked about the 2 carries that Jarquez Hunter received in the second half, and the answer that he gave was he believes that Jarquez Hunter looked gassed. Listen, I'm not buying it. I know Blake's not buying it, and I'll just say this on it. Listen, guys, I just don't understand it. This is a program that I've said that a million times, has been built on running backs. This is a program that's built on running the football. And I'm just going to kind of start to subscribe into Blake's theory until we're proven otherwise, that it's not necessarily that Hugh Freeze wants to win football games. There's a certain way he wants to win football games. He wants to win by throwing the football around. And, if you think back to that Kentucky post game where he talked about he had to resist the urge to throw the ball. I don't really understand that, the way we were running the ball. Why? Why would you have this massive urge all of a sudden to throw the ball when running the ball is working. I just think that it's a really I'm just kind of confused coming off a week where a guy runs it 23 times. And listen, as Auburn fans, we've seen guys tote the ball way more than 23 times, right? Now, personally, I think 23 is a good number, but Jarquez is one of the most well-conditioned athletes that we've ever seen at Auburn. I mean, we see the videos of the squats, the workouts, all that kind of stuff. So 2 carries in the second half, it doesn't sit well with the Auburn fans. It shouldn't sit well with the Auburn fans. We know what Jarquez can do. We know that giving the ball to your best player, like that's just a thing. It just makes sense. And for some reason, a week after giving the ball to Jarquez 23 times, getting a win, dominating the trenches on the road in Kentucky, you come back home and a team versus Vanderbilt, who I'm going to give Vanderbilt the credit. They did attack the line of scrimmage early. They did do some stuff with the bear front and all that kind of things that limited us in the run game. But would they have been able to do that over 4 quarters? I highly, highly doubt it. I would have loved to have just seen us stick with that, continue to give the ball to Jarquez. 2 carries in the second half. You can't really justify it. Blake, are you back with us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. You sound a little far off, but I hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm here. I'm trying to set up my can you see me on the picture?
Yeah, you look terrible on the picture.
Okay. Let me see here. Let me see. I don't know how to do this on.
Yeah, you were actually fine on the way you were before you switched. We could see you, hear you, everything good.
Okay, I'll try to get back on there then.
10-4, bud.
All right, man.
All right, so yeah, we're but listen, dude, when we look at it, this is becoming a theme, right? And I think that we just kind of take note of this. I mean, we're 3 games away from being 2 seasons into the Hugh Freeze regime, so we kind of know at this point he's had Jarquez for 2 years, and I'm going to go back to what Hugh Freeze said at SEC Media Days when Joe Goodman asked him what the identity of this football team should be. Hugh Freeze said he thinks that it should be Auburn running the football, but it just appears that in close games, we go away from it. There are a lot of times where, for whatever reason, and look, again, I'm not acting like Jarquez was lighting the world on fire Saturday, but he comes out the gate, he has a first down run on the first carry, and then you end up punting the ball on that drive because you don't hand the ball back to him. So I know that you wanted to get Damari involved and got Jeremiah a little bit more involved, but we find ourselves asking the same question over and over and over again. Why is 27 not getting the ball 20 plus times? And I think some of the things that we had seen, what really disappoints me the most is some of the things we saw out of the backfield, getting Jarquez the ball out of the backfield through the air, the little dump off, check down, screen passes, those kind of things. We didn't even see that. So at this point, I'm not mad about it. I'm not really disappointed. I'm kind of coming to expect this. And it just, Hugh Freeze wants to win this. He wants to win football games his way. He wants to throw it around the yard. And that's until he proves to us otherwise. I think that we've got to kind of expect that, man. So I'm very disappointed in it. It's another game. I mean, 2 carries in the second half. And I think my issue here is I'm just the gas thing. Blake, Jarquez Hunter was gassed?
Man, that's the laziest thing I've ever heard. It's the laziest thing I've ever heard. In Auburn football history, it's the laziest thing I've ever heard. Jarquez Hunter is gassed. I didn't think he was hurt, but when I looked at him, I thought he was gassed. He looked gassed. Y'all, that's lazy. That's lazy. The kid is 22 years old, and he's in the best shape of his life. He just went for 23 carries and 278 last week at Kentucky, and as the clock hit triple zeros, he cut a backflip.
Right, forgot about that.
So, what are we doing? Why is he all of a sudden gassed? He didn't look gassed on the first run of the game to me, Dustin. Did he to you?
They look pretty good. He didn't get the ball again that drive, matter of fact.
Wow, that's crazy. That's another thing that I have that's really hitting me where you brought it up. 2 carries in the second half. He's questioned about it. Hugh, where was Jarquez? Well, we didn't get many possessions. No, I heard that last year against New Mexico State. I heard that last year. Okay, so the possessions that you did get, you didn't want to use your best player? Yo, what are we doing? Hey, I'm one of those people. I'm here for Hugh Freeze. I've taken up for Hugh Freeze. But this is laziness. You had no game plan Saturday. Nothing. Some people were even asking, was this a save Jeremiah Cobb and Damari Alston game? Like, what? We were lost, and you felt like we were getting some momentum after that Kentucky game. I think that's the thing that hurts the most, is you felt like you finally found what you were going to do on offense this late into the season, and then you come in Saturday where you shut down Pavia, and there's the Stowers, their tight end, who's been killing folks all year. You shut both of them down, and then you are clueless on offense. And the best thing you can tell me is Jarquez is gassed? Get the hell out of here, man. I'm tired of hearing this crap. It's getting real repetitive, and what it's sounding like is execution. That's what it's sounding like. A guy that stood up there and said it comes down to execution. It's getting old, and it's getting burned out, and I'm tired of hearing it. And I feel sorry for Tank Bigsby and Jarquez Hunter because they both stayed at Auburn, and they were severely underused, man. And I hate it. We sucked while they were here, and they're 2 generational running backs. I mean, you see Tank Bigsby right now. He took a man's job in the NFL. Just like that. Second year, bang. ETN, they're looking to shop him. Took his job. And then you got Jarquez over here. I mean, you see a physical specimen, man, and you're going to tell me he's gassed? I'm sick of it, Hugh. You better fix it, because I can't tell if the stadium is chanting Towns Magoo or Fire Hugh. Because both of them are trash right now.
He said he didn't hear the boos.
No, he heard the boos. Get out of here. He heard the boos, because I can tell you, you lost to Vanderbilt, and the state of Alabama should never lose to Vanderbilt, ever. That goes for Alabama, and that goes for Auburn. Neither one of you should ever lose to Vanderbilt. Period, Dustin.
Yeah, Blake. I'm not going to get any argument from you, brother, or you're not going to get any argument from me. I wonder. I look at Jarquez. He's top 5 all time on the Auburn rushing list. Where would he be if he was properly utilized? Where would he be if the first 2 years he wasn't on a trash offensive line? The offensive line run blocks pretty solid now. They're definitely not the best in pass pro, but the first couple of years, bad offensive line, bad scheme. Now he's got a decent run blocking offensive line. Not great, but decent. Good enough for him to do what he's got to do. He's not like Tank out there juking guys before he ever gets back to the line. But still, not a good scheme that utilizes him. It's just, I don't know, man. When you're a team that RBU, I've heard that my whole life because of what Auburn's built at running back, and then to have our generation, Blake, where we grew up on this Trey Smith, Ronnie Brown, Cadillac Williams backfield. You don't have, nobody can go versus Alabama, so you call up Trey Smith from the 3rd string, and he goes for 100 yards plus and gets a couple touchdowns and secures an Iron Bowl victory. Like, it's Brandon Jacobs. Yep. Brandon Jacobs, a Super Bowl champion, a future Pro Bowler, couldn't even crack the field. He had to transfer because he couldn't even get up above the other 2 guys. I mean, we were that school, so. It's really, you're going to have to understand the DNA. And I get Hugh Freeze and wanting to move Auburn into the 21st century. We all know that Auburn's got to improve through the air. Historically, Auburn has fallen too far behind. We know the numbers as far as 3,000-yard passers, 1,000-yard receivers. We all understand that. But the DNA of this program, Blake, you say it all the time, is running the damn football. And that'll never change. That'll never change. That's what the stadium, that's what the program, that's what Toomer's Corner, that's what it was built on, man. And that doesn't mean that you have to abandon you don't abandon passing the football by focusing on the run. Hell, but like right now, you don't have the offensive line to pass block. They just can't do it. You missed on your left tackle addition out the portal, and you've clearly don't trust the quarterback to do that. So, and now the quarterback's banged up and all this kind of stuff, and it's just more than ever, you should be leaning on 27. You should be leaning on the run game. And I'm just befuddled would be the word I would use, that you could run the football with a guy for 200 and something plus freaking yards, and then the next week he gets 11 less carries. And you want to tell me that a guy that squats over 500 pounds in cowboy boots is gassed? Okay. Well, I have never seen Jarquez Hunter gas out at Auburn, so that would have been a first.
Incredible. Truly incredible. You know what's bad, too, is you let Vanderbilt come into your house where they had never won and talk trash on your field, and Pavia say, hey, I'm 3-0, homie. I'm 3-0. And then he gets in the post game and says, they were just another school that didn't want to take a shot on me, so I had to make them pay. All right. Now, granted, he didn't play his best, but still, I sure would have loved having Pavia over Peyton Thorne. And that's where I sit on that, is he walked into Jordan-Hare and made that statement. And he made the plays when it mattered.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we lost a game. We put the graphic up of Pavia on the pregame and all that. He didn't complete a pass for 2 quarters. He went a whole 2 quarters without even completing a pass, and we still lost this game by double digits. It's insanity. Jonathan says, one thing for sure, the seat is hot next year. Listen, I don't see how this, this is not something that can even be remotely argued, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you start off a tenure with 2 losing seasons to start an SEC campaign, that third year, people are going to be looking at you like, okay, bud, like now's the time. That's at any SEC school. So especially Auburn. This year has definitely made the seat hot.
And what's crazy too, I think, is your schedule next year, in my opinion, is probably easier than it is this year, because you got to think Georgia's they're going to be losing Carson Beck. Alabama's going to lose Milroe. You get both of those games at home. What are your games on the road? Oklahoma.
You're at Baylor.
You're at Baylor. Baylor's terrible. They're probably about to fire their coach. So the wins are there. I mean, the games are there. You're probably going to have a tough one with A&M on the road. But Vandy on the road, Pavia isn't going to be there. So if you come out next year, and even if Auburn was to even go 7-5 next year, I would say, hey, that's not it. That's not it. Because of the way I look at that schedule, and I say, man, you got a lot of teams losing quarterbacks on that schedule, a lot of teams that are really good football teams, and you get them at home. I need to see major improvement.
Yeah, he's put himself in a tough spot, man. He's left himself next year. He's with not a lot of wiggle room. Connie says, I agree. We keep asking the same questions over and over again, but what about the whole game? What the hell but it's about the whole game. What the hell are they doing? I don't, we're all kind of asking ourselves the same question. Chris says a new QB fixes some, but it can't fix horrible play calling, horrible scheme, horrible time management, miscue of the talent. You have horrific special teams play, stupid penalties, and no leaders. Chris, I'm going to use this as a transition to a little rant I want to go on tonight. I've seen a whole lot of this week, Blake. I even got in a little argument with a couple of our members that said everything's going to be okay whenever Peyton Thorne's gone. I was told Peyton Thorne is holding Hugh Freeze back. Okay. Before we get going on this, I would like to remind everybody, a lot of y'all are probably new. We're like 40 subs under 2,000. So please, please, please hit that subscribe button. Whenever Peyton Thorne came to Auburn, Ike Jones over at the War Report, he does the film breakdowns. He broke down hours of Peyton Thorne, and I watched all of them multiple times. I spent a lot of time watching it. I was really excited, man. Hugh Freeze coming in, this whole new thing, really optimistic, really believed in the vision. And what I saw was a guy that was pretty mid and was losing his job at Michigan State for a reason. I thought he'd be better than what he's been at Auburn, but I never expected it to be this world beater type thing. And if you go back to this offseason, that's why, what was my ceiling, Blake? Chris Todd. I kept saying, could he be Chris Todd?
Yep.
Could he be Chris Todd? Well, Jesus, man, that's not a very high mark. Like, I'm not, how many downs of NFL football did Chris Todd ever play? So the problem that I have with this is, and some people will take this as like this big Gus Malzahn endorsement. When, if you listen, you know that I've said a million times Gus Malzahn had to go when he had to go. But I watched Gus Malzahn take a DB transfer and plug him into a system and maximize the talent around him. I watched Chris Todd in 2009, Gus Malzahn get the best out of Chris Todd and maximize the talent around him and put together a scheme and a system that was efficient and that worked. So that's kind of what that looks like. And I'm going to start here. So you guys just hang with me for a second. But if you're trying to absolve Hugh Freeze of the Peyton Thorne situation, this is why I think you're wrong. Number one, obviously, Hugh Freeze didn't inherit Peyton Thorne. Peyton Thorne was not even on Hugh Freeze's roster for his very first A-Day. He went and got Peyton Thorne post A-Day, post spring, in the spring portal period. That's when he went and got him, okay? He brings him in. Then we hear, hey, some days Robbie's better, some days Thorne's better. And about the time we were hearing that, Thorne gets named the starter. So Hugh steps up to the mic and he says, you know why I named him the starter? Because he's been pressing in practice. Okay. Sounded weird then. However, I almost said a word you might not be able to say on YouTube. How stupid does it sound now? How stupid does it sound now that you named him that for pressing? Because now we're 20-something games in and we still see the kid pressing. Then in his first year, you rotated him all year. Well, up until like game 7 or 8 with Robbie. Changing him out mid-drives, 3rd and 1, taking him out. We get delay a game, all this kind of stuff. Mismanaged that whole deal. Then the entire offseason, you blame Philip Montgomery. You just blame him. Just out and out blame him. Peyton Thorne does interviews where he kind of alludes to Philip Montgomery was the problem. That was the whole thing. You got the whole little spat with Lane Kiffin because you're going to get Derek Nix, the continuity. Peyton Thorne, this is going to make everything work together. So, you saw everything that you saw from Peyton Thorne in year 1, and you decided with a whole nother offseason, I'm going to stick by this. I'm going to stick by this because I can make it work. Okay? Well, then he goes on and he throws 5 interceptions in the Cal game. You pull him. You start Hank Brown versus New Mexico, whose defense was ranked dead last in Division I football. Hank Brown looks good, obviously. Comes out the next week versus an SEC team and throws 3 interceptions in 1 half. So for everybody that's screaming, why isn't Hank Brown playing? Do you forget the last time we saw Hank Brown? That's why he's not playing. Okay? So then you go back to Peyton Thorne and you dumb down the playbook. You talk about how you're dumbing down the playbook for a 5th-year senior and you're shortening it up and it's going to make everything easier and blah, blah, blah. And now you're scoring 7 points at home to freaking Vanderbilt. So please correct me if I'm wrong here in the chat. Blake, if I'm off on any of this, tell me. How is any of this not on Hugh Freeze? This situation literally has his fingerprints all over it. Now, I'm going to go to this year. Let's look at the quarterbacks that have beat us. And y'all just tell me if any of these guys are elite. Fernando Mendoza, 10 touchdowns on the year, 3 interceptions, the starting quarterback for Cal. Is he ever going to play any NFL ball, Blake?
No. They run the football at Cal.
They run the football. But What did they do that day at Auburn? They had a game plan designed around Fernando Mendoza that he was ultimately able to maximize his talent, his potential. 10 touchdowns, 3 interceptions on the year. That's not great, but I would argue that they're getting the best out of him at Cal. We go to Taylon Green. 11 touchdowns on the year, 7 interceptions. That's kind of the quarterback that he is. But they beat us by 10 because Bobby Petrino was able to put together a plan that maximized the best out of Taylon Green. And they won a ball game versus Tennessee with Taylon Green and a backup quarterback that had to come in the fourth quarter of that game when Green got hurt because they designed a plan. Because Bobby Petrino is known for decades. I've been watching Bobby Petrino set up quarterbacks and make them play better than they actually are. Michael Hawkins. What has he done since he was in Jordan Stadium? The kid's got 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions on the year. And this is normally I would be saying this as like a shot at the defense, but it's not. I'm making the point. Look at the other quarterbacks. We're blaming our quarterback, but I'm looking at the quarterbacks across the way, and I'm saying none of these guys are going to play NFL ball. None of these guys are elite quarterbacks, but their coaches are able to find a win with them. Carson Beck. He might be the one guy on this list that plays NFL ball. He also has 11 interceptions this year to his 17 touchdowns. Okay? Missouri. They beat us with a quarterback and a half. Brady Cook played just enough. He played just enough time to beat us.
Yep.
Okay? They were able to win that ball game with a hurt, where they're playing their backup for half the game, and we're still able to plug in their starter in the fourth and find a way to win a ball game. Boy, if that happened at Auburn, some of y'all would be making so many excuses for Hugh. Oh, my God, well, Peyton Thorne got hurt, and then he had to come back in, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to hear it, brother. I don't want to hear it because I watched Mizzou find a way to win despite the adversity at the quarterback position. On to Vanderbilt. You just got beat by the freaking Vanderbilt Commodores at home, and their quarterback went 9 for 22. 9 for freaking 22. What are we talking about, Blake?
Hey, you know what's crazy, too? I'll throw this stat out there for you. Carson Beck has thrown 3 picks in 3 straight games. Or, excuse me, not 3 straight games, but 3 games this year he's had where he's thrown 3 picks. They're 2-1 in those games. What would Auburn be?
Man, I watched Auburn win an SEC championship with a defensive back at quarterback because the system and the method was designed for his skill set. I'm still waiting on the current head coach that, as I was told, was a quarterback guru to do that with our quarterbacks. Listen, again, Peyton Thorne is not a good quarterback. He's not. I'm not sitting here saying that Peyton Thorne is the guy that should lead Auburn to the promised land and you know, Peyton Thorne's just that dude, and that's not what I'm saying. Peyton Thorne has his struggles. Hugh Freeze, Derek Nix, whoever dialed up that play for Luke Deal, you dialed him up wide open, and the quarterback didn't hit it. I get all that. I'd also probably like to make the argument Luke Deal probably drops the pass if it hits him in the hands, but whatever. So, you missed me with that. That whole thing, you're just missing me. Whoever, not you, Blake, but you know, like the people that are pushing that. You missed me with it. I'm sorry. The responsibility falls on the head coach. I watch all these other coaches put game plans around quarterbacks that they're able to get wins on us. Guys, we outgained Arkansas by 200 yards and lost by 10. We outgained Vanderbilt by 100 yards and lost by 10 at home. At home.
I think one of the things, too, that's really annoying is like the comments after the Arkansas game. Well, if we were to play them 9 more times, we would beat them. Well, guess what? You don't play them 9 more times. So why the hell are you bringing that up? That's lazy. It goes back to being lazy. It's just a lazy excuse of why you lost a football game. Another thing, I put on Facebook the other night. I said, man, after watching the missed throw to Cam Coleman coming up 5 yards short, I said, call me crazy, but I miss TJ Finley. TJ Finley makes that throw. Hey, I can tell you what, he don't put it 5 yards underneath him. He don't throw it underneath Cam Coleman. He might throw it over the top of him and maybe throw it out of bounds, but at least he gives Cam Coleman a shot. I'm to the point where I miss TJ Finley. And I'm being dead serious when I say that. And a lot of people could, you can disagree or whatever, but it's to the point where, it's not just quarterback. It's to the point of just being flat out lazy as our head coach at the podium and in game, man. Dustin, I'll say this: you called a timeout with a second left before the 2-minute warning. That says enough for me. That says enough for me. I've seen all I need to see this year, and I've been questioning the fact that Hugh has seemed off. Hugh has seemed like he's stressed out, like he's tired, like maybe he just doesn't care. And what's crazy is our defense is still fighting. Our defense is still going out there holding Pavia and Stowers to basically nothing.
Yeah.
And you give us this shit. And you were technically still in the game too, is why everybody was like scratching their head. They're like, bro, why did you just burn that time out? And then, let's go ahead and trot Towns Magoo out for a 52-yarder when he can't even make a damn 32-yarder. So why are we trotting him out for a 52-yarder? And I'm sorry, y'all, you can get mad at me all you want to, but Towns Magoo needs to hit the portal. Okay? He's just not it. And I'm sorry, you can say, oh, well, freshmen, they're not ready. No, Alex McPherson was ready. All right. Alex McPherson was ready. He was ready for the big stage. Towns Magoo went perfect in 8A. A lot of people forget that. He went perfect in 8A. Guess what? He hadn't hit many since. It's been bad. So let's go ahead and pack it up and let me see somebody else, because I've seen all I need to see. And they're not close misses either.
Right.
They're right off the foot, and you're saying, oh, he missed that. The one the other day, it didn't even sound like he made like legitimate contact. It sounded like he might have got some damn grass underneath that baby or something. Like it just clanked right off the foot, just clank. And I was like, man, you got to be kidding me. I mean, it might have been a little bit vulgar than that, but I mean, even Levi's pissed off about it. I mean,
he don't like it. His first season's been tough.
It's been tough, man. So I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of laziness. There's a lot of I don't care. I'm tired of seeing the just you look lifeless. You look lifeless on the sideline. And then I don't want to see all this you try to act angry at officials and all this stuff. I don't need to see that once we start losing. Once we start losing, I don't need to see that. I want to see it 24/7, man. I want to see that fire from you 24/7. And I'll bring up another thing, Dustin, is y'all, the Peyton Thorne stat line. I've had people in my mentions on Twitter saying, well, Peyton didn't play that bad. Y'all, he played terrible. I'm here to tell you he played terrible. I don't care what the stat line says of 21 to 26. I got into it with a couple of my buddies the other day about stat reading. Stats don't always tell the whole story. All right?
Boy, if we haven't learned that this year.
Stats don't always tell the whole story, because Auburn is top 50 in offense and defense, and they're 3-6. All right. So if stats told the whole story, that record would look a whole hell of a lot better. All right. But look, here's the thing: is the throw to Cam Coleman. You can even take that 4th and 2, KLS wide open once again, and you miss him, and you didn't barely miss him. You missed him by a mile. It wasn't close. All right. Let's talk about the heart of Rivaldo Fairweather on the touchdown grab. Y'all, that was an awful throw. Awful. Shouldn't have been a touchdown. But Rivaldo catches one off the shoelaces, turns around, makes a couple moves, makes a couple guys miss, breaks a tackle, gets into the end zone, bang, tie game. Now, Peyton did not put his team in position to win Saturday. But I can tell you what that, in my opinion, comes from a little bit. I don't think there's a whole lot of belief in that offensive side of the Auburn football locker room right now. I don't think there's a Peyton Thorne and Hugh Freeze belief. I don't think the other guys believe in their quarterback and maybe their head coach. I'm to that point, man, where I just don't think there's a lot of cohesiveness on the offensive side of the ball. And you can tell. And don't sit here. Here's another thing, Dustin, and I'll kick it right back to you, man. I'm tired of this crap about Vanderbilt's a good team. Vanderbilt's, they're good. They're good. Y'all, I had a couple of Bama buddies text me the other night, Saturday night. Man, told you about that Vanderbilt. They're damn good. And I said, they're terrible. They're not good. They're mediocre.
Yeah.
All right. They're mediocre. They're not good. They're not great. They're not going to the freaking college football playoffs. Stop with that, because it's not true. They just got a talented quarterback. He's athletic as hell. He can run around. He fits the system. He can make plays with his legs. And their defense creates some turnovers. All right. They lost to Georgia State. You got that right, Daniel. They lost to Georgia State and they beat Ball State by 10. All right. The only reason people are running around here saying that they're good is because they beat Alabama. That's it. Auburn showed you they're not great. You just couldn't do anything on offense because your head coach and your quarterback, something is there, man. Something's there. And your head coach doesn't want to give your best player the ball, and your quarterback is playing like dog water. And I'm tired of sugarcoating it, and I'm tired of taking up for everybody, but it's the damn truth, and you lost to Vanderbilt, and that should never happen, Dustin.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you 100%, man. You know, and I think that, I mean, it's a credit to Clark Lee and his staff. Like, they're getting everything. Again, what I talked about, they're getting everything out of it. Every ounce of what that roster has, they're getting out of it.
Clark Lee, great coach. Great coach. He told us that he was going to fix Vanderbilt. All right. I think Pavia has a lot to do with that offensively. He keeps them in games and everything. Now, their defense is good. They've turned people over and everything. But I think next year you're going to see Vandy go back to the same old Vandy when Pavia and Stowers and all them dudes leave. All right. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. But that's just where I sit is once Pavia's out, they're back to the same old Vandy. And you lost to a team that you should have beat. Auburn should have won this football game. And that's the end of story.
Yeah, I agree. We'll get a couple of these more comments, and then we're going to get out of here. Something else going on right now, Blake, outside of our show that people have a lot of vested interest in. I don't know what's going on out there.
Yeah, man.
Thomas said, Dustin going off. Listen, brother, I love my Tigers, man. I just want to see Auburn be successful. And I guess I put a lot of responsibility on head coaches. I put a lot of responsibility on them because that's who it falls back on. Who it falls back on. And I watched. Let's basketball starts this week. Our show Thursday. We're going to review Auburn's game versus Vermont. Tips off tomorrow, and we'll look ahead to the Saturday game versus Houston. So for our basketball guys, to see some people in the comments ask about basketball. Basketball episode coming Thursday. But look, you know, if you knew what you were looking at, Bruce Pearl's first year and second year, you knew we were coming. You knew that he was getting everything out of that roster and he was building something. There was never a question of that. And you go back to like that first run, that tournament run with KT Harrell, and he hits the shot and all that, you know, like you got everything out of that roster that you could get. So there's an example at Auburn of a guy who, and look, Hugh Freeze took over a bad situation. I'm not saying, but look, what Bruce did with what Tony Barbie gave him, like, come on now. Come on. So, you knew Bruce didn't kill, he wasn't crushing in year one or year two, but if you knew what you were looking at, you knew like, hey man, this thing is getting right. I can see it getting right. If it wasn't for recruiting, I told you this before we hit go, Blake, to me, Auburn is two ships right now in the sea, passing in the middle of the night. You've got recruiting and talent acquisition, and that's that's speeding towards the promised land. And then you've got the on-field product in the current offensive scheme, and it's going off the face of the earth. It's about to fall into the abyss. And if one of these shows up to the promised land, well, this one shows up with a supply. Well, cool, we got the supply. But the other one with the people we need on it to help build it, it's going off. Like, I need all the boats going in the right direction, land at the promised land, so we can build this thing up. But right now, it's going in two completely different directions. And I'm here to tell y'all, pretty soon, that recruiting boat's going to follow if that other boat don't get turned around. It's going to turn around too and go off the face of the earth. Not this class. But next year, boy, if the wins don't start coming, the recruits will.
Look, Dustin, I just want to say this real quick, and then I know people gotta get out of here and all that stuff. What would you do if we lose to ULM? Look, y'all, I was actually talking to a buddy of mine today, big Alabama fan, but we were having a little discussion, right? He said, Blake, how are you the head coach at Auburn and you lose to New Mexico State, Cal, Vandy, Arkansas in the state they're in, Oklahoma when you blow an 11-point lead, and the state of that football program right now? Mm-hmm. He was like, all these losses piling up, man. He was like, you have a worse record than Brian Harsin. He was like, if you lose to ULM, where do you go? I said, man, you got to terminate him. If you lose to Louisiana Monroe, you got to go. I'm sorry. I don't want it to happen. I really don't. Because I don't want Auburn to keep catching that trend of firing coaches and having to pay them. Y'all, we're still getting laughed at about Gene Chizik. I'm kind of tired of, Auburn having to, well, you're still paying Malzahn, you're still paying Harsin, you're still paying, I don't want Auburn to get into that. So I don't want it to happen. But if you lose to Louisiana Monroe, I can't keep you any longer. I'm sorry. That's New Mexico State and Louisiana Monroe in back-to-back years. That's a problem. It's never happened in my lifetime, ever. Even Gus found a way to beat Utah State and Jack State and all that. I mean, Gus found a way to get it done. It was ugly. It was ugly, but he found a way to get it done. So if you lose those, you got to go, in my opinion. And I'm sorry, but it's just got to happen. You can't be embarrassing Auburn like this. There was an Oregon fan on Twitter today. They were talking about Naeem Offord and flipping, and a guy brought up Auburn. Well, he's probably going to flip to Auburn, and he was like, well, if he's serious about football. Y'all, the last two times we have played the Oregon Ducks, we're 2-0, and we raised a crystal ball on that ass. And they're over here telling us that we're not serious about football. So that's how far we have fallen in this football rank, in the football world. We're not even relevant anymore. And if you lose to ULM, see ya.
Yeah, and you said that after the New Mexico State game last year. You said if it happens against ULM, then so you've been consistent with that. Justin says we were embarrassed and Vandy talked shit to us. Yeah, listen, that's a tough clip to watch. I watched it and just shook my head and was like, man, when you're getting punked by Vandy on the AU of Jordan-Hare Stadium, okay.
Dude didn't even play either. That's what's crazy. Like, it's like two of those dudes, like jersey fresh as hell, didn't even have to wash that baby. And they're talking trash to you, bro.
Yeah, nothing you can say. Low budget paranormal says I just liked and subscribed. Hey man, appreciate that, big dog. We're right there, dude. We're right there. We could be at 2,000 any day. Daniel says that play Luke Deal runs wide open and PT overthrows him. Yeah, and then Luke Deal on a crucial down misses a block. And yeah, man, I could not be more over Luke Deal, guys. 3 more games. Have seen enough.
Ran right across his face, y'all. I said, hey, please tell me how you did not pick up that block.
6 years.
He's just a glue guy. And the glue ain't sticking right now. All right. It damn sure ain't Gorilla Glue.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, everyone loves how great of a guy he is. Well, that doesn't win football games, so cool beans. John Balkin says, the trick play last week was one of the stupidest play calls I've ever seen as an Auburn fan. Brother, we've seen some stupid ones. That Wild Cox was dumb. Yeah, when you're moving the football and something's finally working and you got a drive put together, how about not have a wide receiver throw the football? Like, how about not? Yeah. Second and 20 after that. Sweet call.
I'm going to tell y'all this. Probably the most aggravating thing about this, John, is you had just come off of TV, an interview on the sideline. They said, Hugh, what does your offense have to do? And he said, we got to be successful on first down. And then you call a trick play, a one-man route, a reverse to Malcolm Simmons, a true freshman, for you to put him in that situation to throw that football. And guess what? When it wasn't there, he panicked. Malcolm Simmons, he was just going to try to make a play. He wasn't throwing that ball away. He was going to try to make a move, make a guy miss, cut up field, maybe find a little seam and get out the gate. And he takes that loss. And you just told us that you had to be freaking successful on first down. And you do that. It's the same shit every week. Excuse me, I'm sorry, but I'm fed up with it. It is the same thing over and over and over. We miss field goals. In-game coaching is terrible. We're calling timeouts with a second left before the 2-minute warning, and we're down 10. And we still got a chance in the game. All right, there's still a mathematical chance in the game. You're out here running trick plays, doing this, not putting your offense in a spot to be successful. While your defense is over here and DJ Durkins, I mean, they're just playing their damn hearts out.
It's so bad, bro.
Unbelievable.
Hey, how about that Wildcat, Blake? How about that Wildcat?
I never want to see the freaking Wildcat. I never want to see it again. I'm sick of the Wildcat. I told y'all the other day, there's a reason why that crap got shut down. It's because it's not good. All right. DC's went into the film room and they said, hey, look, let me figure out. Yep. Took 15 minutes. We got it figured out. All right. Why do you think the Wildcat, it made it into the NFL and it lasted what, about 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then they were like, oh, that Wildcat, can't run that no more. You want to know why? Because DC said, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's it. All right, figured out. It's just, they know what you're going to do. So I never want to see it again. All right, Gus ran it. Maybe the Gus 2.0 thing is true. Maybe, I mean, what Gus ran Wildcat, Hugh's running Wildcat. I mean, well, we keep seeing a trick play here, a trick play there that they never work.
They don't, bro. That's my thing with it. When has it worked? Like they end in, not only do they not work, they end in this disaster. You had the one a couple weeks ago, and I was sitting there watching it. And I'm like, I watched Malcolm panic and not know what to do. You know what that stems from? That stems from whenever you put the little Wildcat situation, you snap the ball to Jarquez. He handed it to PT at running back. PT then runs out and thinks he can ground the ball, but he can't because he didn't start to play with the ball. All that was running through Malcolm's head, and he was like, oh, yeah, that play from last week, I can't throw it out of bounds because of that. Bro, like it's
Yep.
You're not learning from the mistakes. And you put a true freshman who you have said runs the wrong play sometimes. You put him in that position to make that play. When you're moving the ball on first down, your play calling killed the drive. You killed the drive with that play call, period. The drive was dead from the moment you called that play. And the fact that we're not learning from these mistakes. Okay. The end of the half debacle at Oklahoma, the end of the first half debacle at Kentucky, and then in this post game, I almost spit my food out that I was eating whenever I'm watching the post game and Hugh said, yeah, that was a bad timeout at 2:01. I shouldn't have done that.
Yep.
Blake, me and you go to high school games together sometimes. If me and you were sitting at a high school game and we saw a high school coach do that, and I know 2-minute warning is not in high school, but if we saw that kind of mistake, me and you would sit there and roast that high school coach for the next 30 minutes, saying, what in the hell is he doing? How does he have this job? Come on, man. And I just got to watch an Auburn coach, an Auburn football coach, forget the 2-minute warning exists.
You know, I would probably cook that high school coach and probably leave the game because he's not serious about what he's trying to do. But one thing I do want to say, and this is it for me, and I promise I'm out of here. All right, but I want to bring this up just because last night I was watching Monday Night Football. Your Bucks, Dustin, and guys, when you see a 9.5 point spread in the NFL, that's extremely large. You don't see big spreads in the NFL because every game's so close, and you just never know, right? But the Bucks they're hurt. They're got a lot of injuries, man. Just been signing dudes off free agency, just practice squad guys, just throwing them in there, trying to find a way, right? Well, they go into Kansas City and they make a game out of it. You want to know why? Because the Bucks are very well coached. They are prepared. They have a quarterback that is going to make plays when called upon, and they have guys that even though they're backups, they're ready to go, man. Like, they're ready to be in a football game in Kansas City, one of the toughest environments in the NFL. And I know they lost because the NFL overtime rules they're trash. They're trash. For a team not to get a chance to possess the ball is wild to me. But you take the Chiefs, the best team in the league, to overtime because you're well coached, you're well prepared. You got a good ass quarterback who can make plays, and he's a hell of a leader. You're never going to see Baker Mayfield stand over there on the sideline and pout. You're never going to see Baker Mayfield throw a towel over his head and mope off the field and do all that crap or hold his pads and, oh, God, it's just whatever is going on Pat Dye Field in Jordan-Hare Stadium, boy, get me to tomorrow night versus Vermont. And I hate saying that.
Yeah,
I love Auburn. I love them to death. And I put it on Twitter the other night. I'll never give up on them. I'll watch every game, whether they're 3-9 or 0-12 or 12-0. But I just want a dub. So get me to tomorrow night against Vermont. All right, get me to baseball season, whatever we got to do to start getting some dubs, because I'm tired of losing. You can see on the show, man. You can see on the show. Losing, the chat ain't as fun when we lose. It just ain't. And that's where I'm at, man. It's going to be a long, long week with a bye week. And then you basically look after all this, you got to watch LSU and Alabama have a play-in game to the college football playoff. So hey, how great is that, man? Nick Saban retires, they get old buddy from Washington, and they're playing in a freaking play-in game, and you're over here wondering, can you beat Louisiana Monroe? I'm out. Have a great night, y'all.
Yeah, Georgia Ole Miss playing a big game, and everyone. I see South Carolina having fun, storming the field. I want to have some fun. Auburn fans deserve it. Fire Freeze gifted 5 up-tempo memberships. Appreciate you, big dog. I'm going to be doing the I did this some last year. I'm going to kind of amp it up this year. Won't have one for tomorrow, but we'll have one for Baylor. Going to put out the little preview pods, like looking at stats and that kind of stuff for basketball. So basketball content coming. I got a recruiting pod that I want to do, a couple of things I want to talk to you guys about. So a couple of member pods will be coming out for you guys this week. You're about to start seeing the basketball, watch the films and that kind of stuff crank up too. Appreciate you giving them memberships, Fire Freeze. You're always in here holding it down for us. You ask, can we convince Hugh Freeze to hit the portal with Towns Magoo? Well, here's the thing. Like Jonathan says, if you look at the buyout structure, this is actually a good contract for Auburn. Like, they actually said, you know what? We're not getting burned on this one. So, at the end of next season, like, it looks really, really sweet for Auburn. So, yeah, and I just like perception, man. Perception. If you give Hugh Freeze 3 years and he doesn't have a winning season, then only idiots would be arguing at that point. Like, at that point, then it's like, well, man, we gave the guy the time. Like, at that point, there's no, you didn't give him enough time. If you can't get a win, if you can't crank out and get it rolling in 3 years, then, I saw somebody tweet out yesterday, we all know Hugh deserves 6 years before we have this conversation. I said, oh my God. 6. You need
No.
6. You need a 6-year sample size. And then Rodney with the 1999 super chat. Thank you, Rodney. Appreciate the support. I saw you asking where Pops was. Pops is a good man. He probably on the couch watching the election or something like that. You know, he old man. But look, love you guys, man. Appreciate y'all. We'll see you guys Thursday to review what is hopefully a win in this Auburn basketball game tomorrow, and then we'll take a look at the big game because hey, Auburn still got a big game Saturday.
Yep.
Still got a big game. It's just not on the football gridiron. Thank the Lord. Thank you guys for watching, man. We love y'all. We appreciate you. We see you guys Thursday. It's War Damn Eagle. We're out.
War Damn.